There are many of you would like to see my little private collection of stuffed animals that I've been working on my entire life. When I was a little kid, it wasn't cool to keep antlers and stuff. They were just everywhere, and people leave them out, and dogs would drag them around, and they'd end up disappearing. But my great-grandpa was a taxidermist. First, he fought in the war between the states on the north, the Iowa Brigade, and I even have his handwritten records on the campaigns he went on. And so the only thing I had from my great-grandpa was a set of moose eyes that were left over, and they were from maybe the 1870s or something like that, and they really haven't changed one bit, the style of making the glass moose eyes. And so I had them, and I wanted to do something with them, and so I learned how to do taxidermy work. I've really been working on learning how to do it my entire life. I've dedicated a lot of time to this, and so I've collected all sorts of specimens. This is a ptarmigan from a game bird from Alaska, and then the rest of these are the antelope from Oregon and Wyoming. And the sandhill cranes, I got a permit to collect 2 of them in Wyoming. They were doing crop damage. And then an old turkey gobbler and a badger. And I was lucky enough to draw a moose tag for Wyoming, so I finally got to put those moose eyes to work, and I got this moose in the archery season in Wyoming, and he's the subspecies of moose called the Cyrus moose. And I've got a few of the geese mounted around next to him. And then this is a really big male bear that my son-in-law shot. And then I've hunted bear my whole life, and all these bear, even though they range a lot in different colors, they're all from pretty much all from the same area. It's Hell's Canyon, and we backpack in there after them, and we really get them. I got this one really big bear. My wife and I were backpacking in on a ridge in Hell's Canyon, and anyway, we went past a few cattle that were standing in a circle, a tight circle, and they had small calves. And then I could see something up ahead, and it was a big bear, and he stood up like that when my wife was coming along, and she was looking at the ground and didn't even see him, and he was getting so close to her that I had to yell for her. And anyway, she stopped then, and I was still trying to get shells in my rifle, and finally I got him in, and eventually I got him. These were some really big bear, particularly the big one with the white blaze on his face. It was that was thinking about having Marge for dinner.
That was that big one.
Yeah, and anyway, when she gets to nagging at me, I tell her next time there's a big bear that I'll hold off a little longer before I shoot it and let that hot breath go down her neck.
Right.
But anyway, we've never really had a problem with bear. And the moose, when I was hunting moose in the archery season, I had a slight problem. I ran out of arrows when I was shooting at one, and I had to climb a tree. He didn't like being shot at, I guess. And then mule deer, most all the mule deer in my collection are from the same place over in Hills Canyon. And the geese, we used to hunt a lot at Summer Lake Refuge and get a lot of our geese there. We've got a lot of geese in time, and they're excellent table fare too. And so it seems like any hunt I go on, eventually it ends up being a bear hunt, and particularly now since there are so many bear. And this is an elk from Wyoming. And then a little red fox from Wyoming, I believe it was, and then a decent bull elk. That's actually from Wyoming as well. And then I've been marlin fishing several times, and I'm still waiting to get my first bite from a marlin. But anyway, I found this one. Someone gave it to me. It was in really bad repair, and so I repaired it and patched it all up and hung it up. It took $100 worth of paint to do it, but it was originally a Mexican mount. And then the background, my cousin Larry and myself painted this background. This is some kudu, some elephants, and then the little animal standing on the little termite mound is the bat-eared fox. They're strictly an insect eater, so you see them around the termite mounds. And all this area over here is from our hunts in Africa, and there's even the jackal and the Africa crested porcupine. They have huge long quills. It said they can even kill a lion with them. And then one of my favorite things to hunt in Africa are warthogs. And so I have 3 of them, and then there's the springbuck and the impala. And here's another impala. And then the one with the white face is the bleesbuck, and the one in the background is the most sought after animal in Africa. It's the kudu. And they're a brush animal or a browser, so you find them in the thick brush. And then the zebra. Marge, come tell about the zebra.
Oh, I shot the zebra, and
Marge,
it took me all day long.
Marge said that the grandkids wanted a zebra.
At the end of the day, I finally got it with one shot, and as it turned out, it took us until dark to get it hauled out.
Yeah, it fell in a difficult area, and we had trouble getting it out, but we got it and took care of it, and I mounted it, but I wouldn't hunt. She said the grandkids wanted us to bring home a zebra from Africa, and I said, well, I won't shoot one. I was raised on a horse ranch in Montana, and you don't hunt horses and you don't eat horses. And so she said, well, you big wussy, I'll shoot him. And so the grandkids got a zebra. And anyway, out of all these African animals, there were no endangered species shot, and there was not one morsel of meat went to waste. There are people that are really hungry over there, and so every bit of meat was used, although we couldn't even bring a piece of it home. And this animal here is the black wildebeest. For a while they were low in numbers, but they've done well, and so now we can do what you call selective culling, and that would be you can hunt old animals that are no longer used for breeding, and but that would be all. And so these animals, a lot of them have really long tails, and they use these tails for swatting pesky flies, and also they work real well for signaling, like the black wildebeest. They throw that tail up and swing it all over for signaling. And the little springbok, they have a white streak right on their back, and when they get alarmed, this stands straight up so the rest of them can see it in the herd, and then they can they bounce up in the air, and then this little patch here opens up, and there's a musk smell comes from that. So if some of them are feeding and don't see the danger, then they can smell this musk, and then they take off. And this is another kudu. They're a really, really nice animal, and we ate all we could eat of these while we were here, and some of the good cuts were taken in and sold by the game rancher where we were, and so they ended up on somebody's table, and plus we ate a lot of them there, and they had a lot of Bushman people working there, and they all got things to eat from these. And this is the games buck, and it's thought that that's where the legend of the unicorn came from, is seeing these, and quite frequently the large bulls will have been fighting and they'll lose one of their horns off, and so they look like a unicorn. And then the hartebeest, they're a fairly large animal, and if you look at them with a little imagination, you can sort of see a heart in the way their horns go up, so they're called the hartebeest. And they're very good eating too. And then there's the little steenbok. They're a very small little animal, and they dash around in the brush. There's the little diker, and that's the only species of antelope in the world that'll occasionally eat meat, although they eat quite a bit of grass, but they don't have fangs or talons, so they're restricted on their meat to like ground birds and mice and things like that they can catch. And then there's the little spring hare. They're kind of like a jackrabbit, only they're pretty much always nocturnal. And then here is the big eland, and that's the largest species of antelope in the world, and this particular bull weighed 2,000 pounds. So he's big. Just a common porcupine from Wyoming, and lots more bear. And I have lots of coyotes, and this is a white-tailed jackrabbit, sort of in the transition stage. They turn white in the winter and then they're brown in the summer, and the only thing that doesn't turn white is the black around their ears. And the coyotes, we have a few of them. I have a nice specimen of a bobcat here, and that's from our local area here, although most of the animals I have are from the eastern part of the state, but he's from here. And just the other day we saw two of these right on our property. They sneak in and try to grab a chicken or a duck or something if the opportunity's right for them. Okay, these are the white-tailed prairie dog. There are two subspecies of prairie dog. There's the white-tail and the black-tailed prairie dog, but these are the white-tail, which are quite abundant, and they're hunted quite a bit over in Wyoming. I haven't really seen much sign of them in Oregon, so those that hunt prairie dogs have to go to Wyoming, and we don't really eat the prairie dogs, although they would be quite edible. And so really, since I'm not going to eat them, I see really no purpose in hunting them, unless I want to shoot one to mount or something. And the badgers are always really neat. They do a lot of hissing and growling, but and they have really long toenails, and they dig really deep, and so they would be maybe around a prairie dog town or something, because they dig up rodents and eat them for their food. Okay. I've spent an entire lifetime collecting and mounting these, and so I have a fairly decent private collection of them here. And when I was a little kid, I was raised in a culture in Montana where everyone went hunting, and I remember the little kids in school were saying, I got to shoot my dad's .30-30 rifle today, and things like that. So that was just the culture there, and so we learned to do this. And anyway, in my lifetime, I've never shot an endangered species or wasted any meat, and we eat all of this. Even the bear are fairly good eating, and the mountain lion, I've only shot one. This mountain lion was a very, very small one, but it was all I could come by, and so I'm not done with it yet, but when I get it finished, it'll go into my displays.